give a report to this House on the steps taken to implement Article 10. Mr. Speaker, Article 10 is the soul of the nation. Article 10 is what the engineers would call the software of the country. It is what the doctor would call the heartbeat of this country. Oh dear. Mr. Speaker, through Article 10, this country gave to itself how they want to be governed. Mr. Speaker, Article 10 of the Constitution provides for us the map to where we want to go. Mr. Speaker, in the last 1.5 years, we've listened to and been treated to, Mr. Speaker, the Deputy President piercing with a sharp knife through the very heart of the nation, Mr. Speaker. When we went to give ourselves a new constitution, Mr. Speaker, we said tribalism, nepotism, corruption, Mr. Speaker, are our ills. And we said that we will entrench Article 10 and ensure that going forward, we live as a country together, united, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, for the last 2 years, the Honorable Gachagua has not only put a knife onto the back of our values and shared principles, but he's kept turning that knife, Mr. Speaker, to the level where if we allow him to continue being Deputy President, Mr. Speaker, we are going to risk the loss of the heart of this country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the move of this motion, the Honorable Mutuse, read what appears in Article 10, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there is nothing to say about a person who believes that this country should only belong to one region, Mr. Speaker. It has to be clear today that we are not impeaching Mount Kenya. We are not impeaching the Kikuyu. We are impeaching an individual who has refused to follow the law every single day of his life. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Gachagua is the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, not the Deputy President of Mount Kenya, Mr. Speaker. He is the Deputy President of Kenya Kwanza, not Murima Kwanza, Mr. Speaker. It has to be said today that if you are to build together, if you are to run a country that has shared values, shared principles, and shared prosperity, Mr. Speaker, all of us must believe that our leaders will live within the four corners of the law. Mr. Speaker, it is true, and it's been said by Kenyans, that we are all tribal. Of course, we all come from tribes. We also have our own tribal sentiments, Mr. Speaker. We all have our feelings about what should happen to our tribe, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's even been said that Kufa Dereva, Kufa Makanga. It's also been said that all of us sitting here today have some tribal things in our closet, Mr. Speaker. That is true. But, Mr. Speaker, and you are a seasoned lawyer, when you go to court and you are charged, and the others you are charged are not in court, they say Rigiji, Gachagua, and others not in court. The case here today is that of Rigiji, not others not here today. The case we're dealing with today is the case of Makanga, not driver, not passengers. So, Mr. Speaker, we have to deal with a person who believes that his job is to represent Mount Kenya. Mr. Speaker, on this side sits members of parliament elected by Mount Kenya people. On this side sits members of parliament from Nyeri, from Kirinyaga, from Muranga, from everywhere. Those counties also have governors. Nobody appointed Rigiji to be the benefactor. No one appointed Rigiji to be the custodian of Mount Kenya. No one. Because our constitution provides for leaders from that place to represent them. Mr. Speaker, by his actions that are against Article 10 of the Constitution, Mr. Speaker, Rigiji has alienated Mount Kenya from the rest of the country. He is fought so hard to be the Mount Kenya kingpin, Mr. Speaker, and I believe that this House must impeach him so that he can go and be the kingpin of Mount Kenya, not the deputy president of this country. That's what we need to do this afternoon, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, yesterday I heard him mention the name of our PCS, the name of the Ford Kenya leader. Mr. Speaker, coalition agreements are done.
Give him 1 minute.
Coalition agreements are done between parties and among parties, Mr. Speaker. And if, for example, MDG where I run has shares in the government, the shares are for the whole country, not for a tribe or for an individual, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, today, I must say that we will impeach him But all of us here today must also soul search that as you impeach Gachagua, have you lived a better life yourself as a Kenyan? Have you lived a better life as a leader? What have you done in your closet that reflects what Gachagua has done? We'll impeach him, but we must also change our ways as a country, from the president down to all of us who lead in this country, Speaker. I support and believe that he must be impeached.
Commissioner Patrick Makau.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this chance. Mr. Speaker, from the onset, allow me to give thumbs up for one Honorable Ecomas Mwengi Mutuse Massive. Mr. Speaker, I give him thumbs up for executing this motion and showing Kenyans that leadership is not about where you come from, who you are, but how you perform your duties. Mr. Speaker, this morning I've heard many speakers talk to this motion. Mr. Speaker, I agree with the speakers who have said that yesterday and the week before, Mr. Speaker, I've been watching the Deputy President of this country doing rallies in town, going to churches. And Mr. Speaker, what we saw on Sunday was different from what we saw yesterday. In fact, Mr. Speaker, I want to advise us, even as politicians, sometimes we should listen to our advisors, and we listen to the right advisors. Mr. Speaker, if I were to advise the Deputy President, yesterday's interview was his undoing, and he proved to Kenya that yes, all these accusations that are being leveled to him are really true. Mr. Speaker, I want to confirm to this House, one, despite Article 10, the Deputy President, who is supposed to hold the values of this nation, by uniting Kenyans, by fighting against corruption, by fighting against tribalism, he is the one who has championed tribalism through and through. Mr. Speaker, I want to tell you, as a member of Parliament Mavoko, I have spoken the word Kenya many times, more than the Deputy President of this country. All what I've been hearing is Murima, 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 Murima. Mr. Speaker, today I want to tell Kenyans, I know Parliament has been prosecuted, and many words, we've been called names that we are an unperforming house. But today I stand here as a legislator Mavoko. Mr. Speaker, why am I charging the Deputy President to be a tribalist? Mr. Speaker, at one time, I listened to the Deputy President on national television saying that he reversed a cabinet decision to reverse the demolitions in Mathare. Why did he do that? He said his people were in Mathare and that he could not sit and see his people's houses demolished. Mr. Speaker, it reminded me when the people of Mavoko houses were being demolished. Personally, I went to him, and Mr. Speaker, I thought he could help me. But the words he used to me are unprintable, and I cannot speak them in this house. Mr. Speaker, today I want to tell him, those people that he was addressing, 30% of the houses that were demolished belong to those people of Murima. They belong to Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, I come from a constituency that is cosmopolitan. Today, as I stand here, Mr. Speaker, we have lost lives. We have had people whose properties had to be auctioned because they had gone for loans for those houses to build. Mr. Speaker, as a legislator, I humbled myself and requested and asked the Deputy President to intervene so that those houses, Mr. Speaker, a parcel of 4,000 acres, 325 acres, I requested him to have the 300 acres where the houses were seated, to have those people even pay to Portland. But the names he called me, Mr. Speaker, I cannot call them here. When I hear someone saying there are things which are not personal, Mr. Speaker, I want to tell them, those people elected me to represent them, and their pains are my pains, Mr. Speaker. Today, as I sit here, Mr. Speaker, the same Deputy President came to Machakos, and he said the Kamba votes are very little, they cannot bring in a president. He went ahead and said the Kamba votes, Kitui, Machakos, and Makueni combined are less than 1 million. I want to remind the Deputy President that the Kamba vote is more than 3 million. I want to remind him that Kamba nation produced Gay who took care of Kenyatta in prison. That same Kamba nation produced Munyao Kisoi who flew the flag of Kenya during Independence Day. That same flag produced Muindi Mbingu, the former freedom fighter, who is my grandfather, Mr. Speaker. I want to remind him that same Kamba nation.
Give him 1 minute.
1 minute. Mr. Speaker, that same Kamba nation that you said their votes were useless, they are the ones who are running every night now, calling for them to come and save you in this budget motion. Mr. Speaker, I want to remind him that every tribe in this country is important and he should live to respect them. I support this motion for every reason and every accusation that he has been accused of. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Sane.
Mr.